Lee, and right now the Justice Department is reviewing the actions of a secretive unit run by the Drug Enforcement Administration, or the DEA as you might know it. Some of its practices are raising questions about whether the DEA and what they're doing violates our constitutional rights. This follows an exclusive Reuters report detailing how agents inside the DEA's Special Operations Division use information obtained by a variety of sources, including surveillance methods used by the NSA. And now the means by which the information is originally collected may be lawful. Where it gets murky in all of this is after authorities make an arrest, the person on trial may not know about the original tip that led law enforcement to them. So they may not know it goes all the way back to the NSA and their surveillance programs. Critics suggest hiding the origin may violate our right to a fair trial. So it's a big story. Reuters broke it, and John Shiffman is one of the journalists behind the scoop. John, nice to have you on with us.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
So our point of reference with all of this NSA stuff has been Edward Snowden and a lot of policy arguments, legal arguments about what the NSA is doing. What this group inside the DEA is specific to the DEA. What they're doing is something a little bit different. Just what do you think every American needs to know about this program?
Well, what makes this program different is that this goes to non-terrorist cases. It's used in what they call ordinary crime cases, drug cases, organized crime, gang cases. And what happens here is that the DEA Special Operations Division, which has been publicly known for years for doing international cases and coordinating domestic cases, is also passing along these tips. And when they pass along these tips to people in the field, the people in the field are instructed never to reveal that they used it. So what they do,
John, why are they instructed not to say, hey, we got this because of, the working between different agencies?
Well, this is a really good question. They say that the DEA says that they're protecting their sources and methods, but there are plenty of procedures for doing that in the court system today. And what the agents are doing in the field is they're pulling people over, say, for a broken taillight or for speeding, but really they've been tipped to show up at a certain place that they know someone may be coming, carrying drugs or doing something illegal. And the problem happens when they go to trial, because the people who are accused never know how the case is really started.
How is that different than an anonymous tip-off? Let's say Kelly, who's sitting right next to me, knows I'm doing something bad. He calls the police and says, hey, Jenna Lee, you should keep an eye on her. And the police pick me up from some sort of reason, maybe unrelated or related to that tip, but I never know that Kelly's the one that tipped me off. Is this any different than that?
Well, if it's truly anonymous, then you wouldn't know. There would be no way to know. But these are not anonymous tips, and they could include anonymous tips, but then they're disclosed. What troubles defense lawyers and some judges and prosecutors that I've spoken with is that they're not saying truly how a case started. And agents are instructed to write in their reports that it started, say, with a traffic stop, or that they noticed something. And that's not being candid with the court, according to the judges and prosecutors we've spoken with.
John, how often is this used? How long has it been used in different cases in this country?
Well, the DEA tells us that it's perfectly legal, that it is used virtually every day. They call it a bedrock concept, and they've been doing it since the late 1990s.
We actually just reached out to the DEA hoping for an additional statement, and they just got back to us and say they don't have a statement right now, but they'll send one if they do. The development of the Justice Department looking into this based on your story, in part, John, is something that will continue to follow. In your story, you really point out the two sides to it. As you mentioned, the DEA says this is perfectly legal, but there are people that say that this really violates our constitutional right to a fair trial. Can you just map out both sides of the argument based on what you learned?
Sure. Well, we talked to a lot of agents who use this, and the way we got onto the story is that somebody gave us a training manual that talks about a concept that the agents call parallel construction. And the agents say that it's commonly used, and it's how they recreate the investigative trail. They say that it's perfectly fine. The DEA says that it's perfectly fine. And defense lawyers say that it might be a way to stop somebody, but after you stop them, it's important that all of the evidence that's collected in an investigation that is relevant or helpful to the defense under various doctrines be turned over to the defense. And the problem that the defense lawyers and prosecutors say is that by systematically excluding it, by having a system where they can never see it or know about it, there are problems with trials. Defendants won't know about potential exculpatory evidence, evidence of innocence, mistake, entrapment.
Sure. Do we know at this point, and I know it's very difficult to trace this because in so many cases we do not know the original tip-off that led to certain arrests based on your information, John. But is there any evidence out there as of yet where people feel that they were that this information was abused in any way?
Well, it's very hard to tell, and the DEA says they don't track it. I will say that there was an honest current prosecutor who we interviewed who said that he was initially told in one of his cases that a tip came from an informant. When he pressed harder, what he learned is that it actually came from an NSA intercept. And he's so outraged that he dropped the case. He said this shouldn't be going on.
Interesting. So there's the policy questions that we've been talking about regarding the NSA, but there's also in how some of this is being applied, legally how it's being applied. What does that mean for our constitutional rights? John, thank you so much for the reporting, and we look forward to having you back because the story's not over, and it looks like you have some work on your hands today and for the next few days, sir. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.